Hi, I'm Doug McKinlay and you're watching Adorama TV. Now, we've been doing these videos for better than 3 years now, and we've covered a lot of topics. But as to date, I'm not quite sure we've actually looked at your first digital camera. Now, right off the top, I'm going to be a little bit biased here, admit that I'm a little bit DSLR centric, because that's what I use. But we'll look at other formats as well. Now, I think the very first thing you have to think about when you're thinking about buying a new camera is your budget. Cameras are a big investment of both time and money. And you don't want to overspend because you might figure out you actually hate photography. But having said that though, once you've got your budget, once you've got an idea how much you want to spend, stick with it, plus or minus 10% or so. Now here, the internet's going to be your friend. You're going to do your research. This is where you're going to try and figure out what you want from your camera, what platform is going to work for you. So you do your research online, figure out what you want, and stick with your budget. And also make sure you buy from reputable dealers. This budget will also help reflect how much you want to get into photography. Obviously, with more money, you can buy more gear. Just keep in mind, though, that photography can be a real money pit. You don't want to spend thousands and thousands of pounds or dollars and realize you actually hate it. Which brings me to a second point. What do I want the camera for? So if you're doing mostly pictures of family and friends, birthday parties, etc., you might want to look at one of the compact systems. Now, these systems have gotten really good over the last few years, especially when it comes to sensor technology. If you're looking at wildlife or sports, then perhaps a DSLR with the longer lenses and more reach. Just keep in mind, though, there's a massive amount of depreciation in camera equipment. So if you go spend $5 grand in a shop, when you walk out the door, all that stuff might be worth half what you spent. So budgets are important, but what about platforms? Now, as I said earlier, the smaller cameras, the mirrorless systems and the compact cameras are great. Their technology in the last few years has improved so much. They're nice and light, they're nice and small, and they're really stealthy. They're fantastic for shooting amongst groups of people, like in markets, etc. The documentary and reportage photographer will absolutely love these things. However, where they fall down, though, is with the reach of the lens. There usually is not much of a zoom, if any at all. And that's where your DSLR system comes into play. Now, in my opinion, the DSLR system is the most variable and the most versatile system in the market today. You can't go wrong with these cameras, whether it's Nikon, Canon, Sony, or Olympus. Any of those ones are fantastic. Now, the larger format cameras, like the Hasselblads and the Toyos, etc., are amazing. They got these giant sensors, and they're going to produce wall-sized pictures with great detail, great color, etc. They are great. I love them. However, they're not as versatile as the DSLR system, and they're quite big, and more importantly, they cost an absolute fortune. So I'm often asked about sensor size. Does size really matter? Should I buy a crop frame sensor or a full frame sensor? Now, the technology is improving so much that it's becoming a moot point. So I would suggest buying the cheaper crop frames camera bodies. With that extra money you save, spend it on the lenses. Another thing to consider is weight. Now, carrying around a whole bunch of lenses and camera bodies all day gets really heavy. And I've got the messed up shoulders to prove it. So this is where the compact systems win hands down, despite their limitations. Now, it seems to me that everything technical is moving at lightning speed these days. Just when a camera body comes online, it almost seems like there's another one right behind it. Now, the first thing I would advise is not to try to keep up with the Joneses, unless you've got more money than sense. Stick with the budget you've decided on and work within those parameters. Get the best thing you can get for that amount of money. Now, I would argue that even though there might be some new bells and whistles and new gear, it's not so great that it's worth getting rid of your old equipment. However, there are people who want the latest toy, and that works really well for the first-time buyer. All that stuff that comes online is used equipment, often in really good shape, is now open for you to look at. Just make sure you use a reputable dealer, check out the seller, and be careful what you buy. Also, don't buy from people like me. Now, pros tend to use their gear a lot. It gets beat up and worn out. So, in the final analysis, when it comes to buying your first digital camera, there's a couple of things you've got to think about. First of all, stick to the budget you've decided on. Next, figure out what you want the camera to do. And third, do your research. Thanks for watching. I'm Doug McKinlay for Adorama TV. Don't forget, you can subscribe to Adorama TV for more great videos, and tell us what you think. You can like, comment, or share this video. And do stop by the Adorama Learning Center for more great tips and tricks.